Welcome to Transformative Principal, where I help you stop putting out fires and start leading. I'm your host, Jethro Jones. You can follow me on Twitter at Jethro Jones. One of the best pieces of feedback that I've gotten during the pandemic with the masterminds that I run is that principals are enjoying talking about instruction and not just talking about COVID rules and regulations. It's one of the great things that we get to do in the mastermind is focus on the things that really matter. And sometimes we try to focus on other things, on the distractions that take us away from our vision, but we're always able to come back because our whole goal is to help us get our schools to where they need to be. So I would love to have you in there. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you've probably heard me talk about it before. You probably have questions. Just go to jethrojones.com/mastermind and let's set up a time to talk about it. That's jethrojones.com/mastermind and then click on schedule a call. I look forward to talking with you. Again, that's jethrojones.com/mastermind. Welcome to Transformative Principal. I am excited to have on the program today Jeff Carrus. He is a assistant principal in Katy, Texas. He started teaching in New York, then went to Sugar Land, Texas, and is now assistant principal in Katy, Texas. Jeff, welcome to Transformative Principal.
Hey, thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor to be on.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk with you. And one of my favorite things, Jeff, is when I get to talk to people that other people say are amazing principals. And that to me is awesome. So you were recommended by a friend of mine, Brittany Schroeder, who was on the podcast talking about her compassion clubs that she does in schools. And so that was quite a while ago, several episodes away now, but excited to have you on. She said that you are awesome. You're doing great work and I should definitely talk to you. So thanks for heeding her call and coming on the podcast today.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And coming from her, that's an honor because she's doing amazing things here in Katy. And she came out and worked with my young men's group a little bit. And it was just so inspiring to hear her message. So she's just a great person and has a great mission here.
Yeah. Well, and your young men's group is one of the things she said that we had to talk about. So let's start by talking there. Tell us about the young men's group, what it is, how it started, and whatever else information you want to give us about that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is one of the things that really just excites me about my position, the young men's group. It's one of my favorite things that I do. And, you know, what it is it's a group of mainly at-risk students that I select in collaboration with our teachers. And it's all about leadership. And what we do is we meet once a month and I work with the community, different organizations in the community to get breakfast donations for the students every month. And I also reached out and got some donations for shirts and ties because we want to look the part of a leader and we want to stand out. And I want people to talk about this group of students in the building and know that they're important. And these guys are a special group of young men walking around our campus. So, we meet, we talk about different leadership skills, leadership topics, different people from the community come in. And typically I'll have a speaker there and the speaker would come in and talk about their story, how they worked through different adversities and became successful. We've had a lot of great people in our community come in and share their tips for success and just talk about different leadership things. We've practiced giving handshakes, how to do a proper handshake, how to make eye contact when you're speaking in conversations with people. This year, we worked on different leadership topics that go along with our character program we use here in schools. And we did some goal setting and how to find accountability partners. And then we held each other accountable to our goals. So just a lot of really deep topics that these students really benefit from. That's kind of what the overview of the program is. The whole idea came, I went to a training. I go to a lot of different behavior conferences, and that's kind of my niche is behavior. So at one of the conferences, there was a guy from Dallas, and he had a gentleman's group, and they did different service projects, and they had a picture he showed with shirts and ties, and he did it a little bit differently. But then I thought, how can I do that? Because whenever we hear great things, if we try to emulate it exactly as they do it, it's just not who we are. So I try to find out, okay, what am I passionate about? How can I take this idea, and how's it going to benefit our kids? Because it's about our population of students, and it just kind of adapted over the years.
Yeah, and that's one of the pieces that is really important, that you can't just adopt wholesale what somebody else does. Then it's still their program, it's not yours. And so you have to adapt it to meet your own needs. What were some of the things that you saw that you said, we really need to do it like this or like that in Katy, that is different than how this guy was setting it up?
Yeah, so some of the things I saw was just like the school that I had went to. My first task, I really just looked at our office referral, our behavior data, and said, okay, what are some of the needs of our students? And really what I saw is a lot of our young men are at-risk populations. They needed to be a part of something, to have some leadership, some social skills, and really just know how to channel and navigate the different emotions and the struggles that they were going through. So a lot of times when you find the right avenue to kind of channel that energy and be able to say, okay, I'm upset about this. How do I express myself and do it in a positive manner, and then also make them a part of the school, rather than, when we have discipline issues, it disrupts the learning, but how do we better the learning environment? And that's really our focus, is what can we do to be an active contributor? So in looking at his program that he did, they kind of hit on some of the same topics, but really when we brought it here, I wanted to get them in because, our students, we had a lot of population on, free and reduced lunch and things. So I thought, okay, we definitely want to have a breakfast component to that, because how are we going to excite kids about coming in and getting their excitement? And well, we're going to give them some free food. And they love that part of it. And a lot of them said, when you said free breakfast, I came because I wanted the food, but now I really like the group, and I like the things we talk about and the things we do. So we had to hook them. But then, I was also thinking, like, which people in our community could they connect to and really relate to? And we found some great speakers to come in. And that was kind of a part that grew with it. And I really didn't sit down and plan out, I want to have speakers, I want to do this skill. Kind of just comes to me on the, I go to 1 month and I say, okay, we talked about this. What's the next thing that can build upon that? And how can we adapt and really just keep growing all the skills we're learning to really make the whole student better and better impact to our school. So.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. I think when you really try to fine tune something to the needs of the people right there in front of you, it has a lasting impact on them because they know that it's for them. And so, finding guest speakers in the community, people that can speak to the challenges they're facing, I think just goes a long way to helping them feel that support and feel that care that they need in order to be successful. And so I really commend you for that. One of the things you talked about was youth leadership as it relates to that. What are some of the things that you do to help these young men have leadership opportunities in the school, especially when they are the boys that nobody wants to have in a leadership position because they're the ones who are at risk, getting in trouble and what have you? How do you help them have leadership opportunities?
Yeah. So it's really looking at what each student's strengths are and what they bring to the table, because different students, they might have different strengths. So we have some students who, if they're fifth grade, now I'm in 8th grade, but if they're older students, maybe they can mentor some younger students who face some similar struggles that they went through in that age. And, it was great because I had one student who mentored a kindergarten student and said, when I was in kindergarten and I got upset, I used to do these things. And that's just, I learned it's not appropriate. So here's some other things I can do. And just seeing the conversation between that older student and that younger student, we can, as adults, tell students, everything we want them to do. But when they truly hear it from somebody who they look up to and admire as an older student, then they say, well, hey, here's some things you can do. Let's practice. I'm going to come in and check on you. And I'm going to peek in when I go to the restroom. I might make sure the teachers know, hey, this student has permission just to peek in on this younger student and just kind of give them a thumbs up if they're doing the right thing. So they might do that. We have had some beautification things where, we want to make our school better. So if we have a garden, maybe I'll take them out and we'll water the garden at some point and just kind of talk about their day, maybe find different areas of the building to clean up, different hallways that, the bulletin boards might need to be restapled. And what I usually tell them is, take initiative. When you're out in the building, don't wait for me to say, hey, let's go out and do this. What do you think you could do when you're walking the building to make it better? And those are just some of the things. We also had some student tour guides who would, when we had new students come, they would teach them our behavioral expectations, take them around the building, teach them the expectations in the cafeteria. And that's always good because when you can teach something, you truly understand it. So for the students who maybe struggled a little bit with behavior or just needed some kind of leadership, to go out and teach expectations to someone else builds their capacity in understanding those expectations also. And another thing, we talked about with staff is, in the cafeteria, maybe some of those students who struggle with behavior, have them at the beginning of the cafeteria, just say, hey, remember the expectations in the cafeteria are to clean up after you're finished and speak in a respectful voice. And when they're leading behavior in our building, then they truly become a part of behavior and wanting to change it for the better. So I think it's just finding any leadership opportunities to really make them take a part in the campus.
Yeah, I like that. And it's one of those things where you can plan out and make all these things that kids can do, but it's really about giving them real opportunities to be a leader, no matter how big or small. That's what they find really successful. That's what helps them be better, like you said, when they're the ones leading the behavior expectations, and they can often say things that you and I couldn't say. Man, this one time I was doing this and it was not a good idea, and this is why. And I've had that experience too. And you're like, man, thank you. That was like the best explanation you could have given of why we have this rule. And it's perfectly appropriate for you to say that. But if I were to say, this one kid, he did this, and it's that kid right over there, he did this bad thing over here, that's not going to be good for him. But him admitting to his own weaknesses or saying this is what I did that wasn't a great idea, I mean, that's really powerful. And kids can really learn from that, both as the one who's saying it and the ones who are receiving it. So that's really powerful. John Catt Educational supports high-quality teaching and learning by providing publications that are research-based, practical, and focused on the key topics proven essential in today's and tomorrow's schools. The latest John Catt publications include a book whose bold, transformative ideas amaze and infuriate people around the world, according to one reviewer, a title from global leaders in curriculum planning, practice, and retrieval, one book that says stop talking and start doing with regard to teacher well-being, and much more. These books, used by educators of all roles across North America and worldwide, amplify fresh, engaging voices with practical strategies to create transformative change. Learn more in our show notes at jethrojones.com/podcast.
Yeah, it is. And just to see that reflective moment in students. And then afterwards, we always have those reflective conversations of, hey, that was really powerful when you talked to them about the way you used to do this and how you improved, and I think it's just about reflecting, because a lot of times students just don't know how to stop and kind of think about what they did and how they grew from it. So just pointing that out and celebrating those things in students and always being positive and encouraging them, because we all struggle, but if we harp on our struggles, then we're going to keep knowing about that. We gotta really bring light to the great things they're doing.
Yeah. And there are certain things where we can have a kid be a student body president or be on a council of some sort or whatever. But those are really limited leadership opportunities. You can only have one student body president. And so we need to find ways to enable as many students as possible to have leadership opportunities. What are some of your other thoughts about finding ways for kids to have leadership opportunities besides just the traditional student body president or class officer, whatever the case may be?
Yeah, and that's really what we focused on too. When we did our like student tour guides, we focused on, let's find students who maybe aren't the leaders in student council. Let's find students who maybe they're not involved in all these programs. And one of the things we started over at the elementary school is some different groups. We call them Tuesday groups. What we did is we found, students who had different interests, but then also teachers who had different interests. For example, like when I was in college, I played rugby, and I wasn't that great at it, but I enjoyed it. And it was a sport that not many students know, especially when you're looking at our students now. We know basketball, baseball, football, soccer, pretty much. And here in Texas, we don't even know what hockey is really. But so when we look at that, I said, hey, we're going to learn rugby. It's not about the game of rugby. It's more about the learning teamwork skills, perseverance, leadership skills, and showing growth. Because, it's just like reading. We might struggle in reading, just like we're struggling learning this new sport. But the second time we come back and do it, we're a little bit better. And then we're a little bit better than that. And we just show growth. So with like our Tuesday groups, I grew leaders in that. So I'd have students who would then become my assistant coaches. So if they started doing the rugby group with me in third grade, by the time they got to fifth grade, they were my assistant coach, as what I call them. And they'd come and actually lead the groups. And we'd break off into 6 groups, and they'd lead stretches, and they'd lead the first drill. And then when they went to junior high, they'd come back over and say, can we still be an assistant coach when we get out of junior high? And so that was one thing. And then other teachers got inspired to start their own groups, and they started math group and soccer group, basketball group, cheerleading group, dance, CrossFit. And that was one of the coolest things to see, is because everybody likes different things. And when you can pull something that you're truly passionate about and like doing, and then teach that to your children, to your students, and share that with them, that was great. Because we had a lot of students, even when some in my rugby group would say, hey, this group is great, but I love CrossFit. I really want to go in that group. So can I switch over to that? That was just really powerful to see teachers stepping up. But that was another way we found just, growing student leaders, because they were part of something important. It's part of something special. And really it could be anything, anything in the building. If you make a student feel a part of the building, then that's a leadership opportunity that you can capitalize on. And it could be a small thing that's maybe one time, or it could be something that becomes a part of their regular routine.
Well, and like you said, everybody has different interests. And so somebody being, part of rugby may be well and good, but if you made everybody be part of rugby, then that's no good. But then the next step of that is when everybody's doing these things that they're passionate about, teachers and students alike, the relationships that get built can be so much deeper, because it's not just about you have to do what I say in my classroom, but we're all here participating in something that we love. And there's such power that comes from doing those kinds of other things that are not specifically just your academic content. There's so much connection, relationships, support, all that can come from that. And it's really cool to see. I really appreciate that. When you're talking about kids becoming coaches, assistant coaches, that's another great leadership opportunity, that even if they're just leading a group of 2 other kids, that's still an opportunity. And that kind of, funneling out of responsibility and opportunity really does give kids a sense of ownership in the thing they're doing, and supports them in developing those leadership skills of, recognizing they can't force anybody to do something, and helping them figure out how to motivate people without resorting to being a jerk about it. What have you seen with that, especially when kids are in those positions where it'd be easy to be a jerk and they have to maintain and make better choices?
Yeah, that's a great point, because I had some students who maybe they didn't realize that sometimes they're not listening to the adults as much as they should. But when they would go into that assistant coach and they'd try to, okay, we're going to pass it this way. And then a couple kids started goofing off in their group. They'd try to troubleshoot it and come over to me and say, they're just not listening to me. I'm trying to get our group to do this, and we can't do anything productive because they're just horsing around. I'd say, what does that remind me of? I feel like I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they'd be like, oh, Mr. Carrus. Okay, well, that was me in reading class yesterday. Well, that's how the teacher feels when she's trying to do something productive. So what steps could you take to troubleshoot this, without me having to come over and redirect? Because, I said, hey, you're the leader in this small group. What are some things you could try? Well, maybe I could have a talk with them one-on-one and tell them the importance of what we're doing. Okay, let's try that and see how that works. And, so then we try to troubleshoot that with them, because conflict is a natural part of life. And a lot of times our our students don't know how to navigate conflict. And that's where we run into these behavior issues that seem overly aggressive, or, some people misinterpret them, but really what it is it's a call for help. How do I navigate these situations that I have emotions for? I don't know how to express these emotions. So, if we can learn how to navigate conflict and have what I say is have man-to-man conversations with them, we can get better, and when that happens in our lives and there's some kind of uncertain things going on that make us uncomfortable.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing a ton of really great stuff, and I'm glad to share it and see that it's happening, because these are the kind of stories that we definitely need to have out there, that people can understand that, you don't have to have some big, huge, expensive, grand program to make connections and give kids opportunities. And I love what you're doing there. And Katie, my last question is, what is one thing that a principal can do this week to be a transformative principal like you?
I think the best thing we can do is just think about what I like to tell our staff when we have trainings is every single interaction is a chance for us to better a relationship with somebody. So think of that one student, or, any student in the hallway, every time you're in the hallways, and what can we do to leave that student in a better place and feeling more empowered than when they came to us in that conversation? Because I went to a training once and they said, if you don't better your relationship in an interaction, then that relationship's not improving, it's stalling out. So what can you do in that one moment to better that person so they leave you in a better place? And really, I think that's just a small thing we can do is, when we see a student in the hallway, ask them about themselves, ask them about something, get to know them a little bit more, inspire them a little bit, challenge them to do something great, and also celebrate the great things they are doing, because students need to hear that, and it makes them feel good, and it really makes them want to continue doing that.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice, and definitely something that we need to pay attention to. If you're not growing the relationship, then something's either growing or it's dying, and it doesn't stay the same. It gets worse or it gets better. And that puts some pressure on us, I think, but I think that it's a good positive kind of pressure to help us continue to build those relationships. This has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time. If you want to follow Jeff on Twitter, he's at Jeff Carrus. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Jethro Jones. And thanks again, Jeff, for being part of Transformative Principal.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate your time today.
Hey, middle school principals, what if I told you that all your teachers had to do to teach your students really valuable social and emotional competencies was just press play? In Control SEL is a fully automated video curriculum that teachers and students absolutely love. And that's because it's easy, and it looks just like a Netflix or a YouTube show. So all you have to do to hear about how it can completely transform your school is schedule your call. Tell us Jethro sent you and you'll get 20% off if you feel like it's a good fit. So go now to www.incontrolsel.com/strategy call to schedule your call today. The link will be in the show notes.